Hello, I wanted to go over the homework problems. This was page 164, 13 through 18. Um, all of these can be done with the quadratic formula, but there are some times that you might want to think, could I factor it first? And would that be faster? So I'd get negative 18. So I have a positive and a negative component. And think of the factors of 18. Which of those, one being positive, one being negative, is going to give me the negative or positive 3? And it would be positive 6x and negative 3x. So I'm going to put 6x minus 3x in for the 3x above. And then I'm going to go ahead and factor it like we have done. Negative sign comes down, negative 3 comes out, and x plus 6 is left. So I wind up with x plus 6 and x minus 3. And remember, it was equal to 0 in the beginning, so I'm going to go x plus 6 is equal to 0. So x equals negative 6. There's one answer. X minus 3 equals 0. Add 3 to both sides, so I get both of those. If you use the quadratic formula, it might have taken a little bit longer, but your answer is going to be the exact same. But I just wanted to show you some of these can be worked out a little quicker. Sometimes with this, all you have to do is just do the first initial, say, hey, if I multiply those together and I get negative 6, means I have a positive and negative. Do you think I can get to positive 5? Or should we go to the quadratic formula if you can't think of it quick enough? Well, in this case, I think you could come up with saying that I know positive 6 minus 1x, positive 6x minus 1x, would indeed give us that 5. So we can go ahead and factor this. And again, factoring is a little bit quicker, but factoring doesn't always work on them because we get some of the problems that come out with a square root with the answer. Okay, on this first one, I could factor a 2x out of both, and that leaves me x plus 3. Negative sign comes down. I can factor a negative 1 out. So this one does indeed factor very nicely. So set that equal to 0 and this equal to 0. Solve both. Add 1 to both sides and divide by 2. So again, I get these answers. I'd get these same answers if I used the quadratic formula. But again, this is a little bit quicker sometimes, and there's not as many places to make sign errors. For 15, we don't have the c value, so we could use a quadratic formula on it, but it looks a little easier right now when I only have the two terms. Let's factor an x out, so I get x and x plus 6. So I'm going to get x equals 0 and x plus 6 equals 0. So x equals negative 6. So it could be a lot quicker. I mean, if I did this one as a quadratic formula, I'd get a is 1, b is 6, and c is equal to 0. And so I'd have x equals negative b plus or minus square root b squared minus 4ac all over 2a, or 2 times 1, excuse me. So that would give me x equals negative 6 plus or minus just 36, because this would have given me 0. So 36 minus 0 is 0, or 36, excuse me. And then you factor down, you could get, and then you have to go through the arithmetic. Negative 6 plus 6 over 2. Well, that's going to give me 0 over 2, which is 0. So that checks. And then the other way, I'm going to get negative 6 minus 6, which is negative 12 over 2, which is negative 6. So I do get both of the answers. It's just this took a longer amount of time on the factoring. Okay, if you take a look at number 16, this is the difference of two squares. Okay, so a couple ways we could do this is we could go and just say, well, let's add 25 to both sides, because I don't have an x term. Then I get x squared is equal to 25. And we had done this the other day. Remember, I'm going to go root, root, but don't forget the plus minus. So my answer is positive negative 5. So I get a positive 5 and a negative 5. That's a pretty quick way to do that problem. Number 17, again, remember what I said. Just think about if you multiply those together and you get negative 12, and so you have a positive and a negative, do any of those add up to positive 1? Well, the factors of 12 are these. So I believe the 3 and the 4, if I have a positive 4x and a negative 3x, that could replace right there, and we could factor this one. I'm going to take an x out, so I get 3x plus 4. The negative sign comes out, and I can only factor a negative 1 out, so it changes both signs. So look at that, it factored very nicely. Set that equal to 0 and set this equal to 0. Solve both. Subtract 4, divide by 3. So there's an answer. And then we're going to add 1 to both sides, and there's my other answer. Okay, again, sometimes these can be done a lot quicker than using the quadratic formula. I'm not saying that if you use the quadratic formula that you're wrong, but you might be spending a little bit more time. Let's try this one just for sake. See if it'll factor. Multiply those together, I get a positive 72. So, and the reason I'm choosing to do this way rather than the quadratic formula, I have to plug a C value of 72 in. So I'm going to be multiplying some really big numbers together. It might work out real nicely, but again, I have really big numbers. But I know that these are the factors of 72. Let's see, 4 and, let's see, that's 4 and 18. And then also 6 and, oh, excuse me, 8 and 9. Looks like 6 would have worked as well, 6 and 12. And then 8 and 9. Okay, well, in order to get a positive number, but this is negative, both terms have to be negative. So those are 17 apart from each other. So I'm going to put x squared minus 8x minus 9x plus 72. Factor an x out of both of those. This negative sign comes down. I factor a negative 9 out. So I'm going to wind up with x minus 8 equals 0 and x minus 9 equals 0. So add 8 to both sides. So I get an answer of 8. I get an answer of 9. Okay, again, think about this. If I plug this into the quadratic formula, I'd get x equals negative 17 plus or minus negative 17 squared minus 4 times 1 times 72 all over 2 times 1. Okay, this would still work out, but you're going to get some big numbers. It would come out to the exact same answers as 8 and 9. We are going to be working on using the whiteboards, and the whiteboards will actually go along with page 165. So page 165, and we're going to look at, well, let's do 1 through 17 odd. That's 165 and 166. We're going to do quite a few of these on the whiteboard. So participate in that with the class, and then this will be what the homework will be that goes along with it, okay? But we're going to use the whiteboard on some of the odds and some of the evens on this particular page, and just make sure we have it down correctly. Have a nice day.